The sound of healing. How music rewires the injured brain. When words fall silent, the brain learns to sing. Imagine this. A quiet hospital room in Melbourne. The rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor fills the air. On the bed lies Daniel, a 29-year-old teacher, recovering from a traumatic brain injury after a car accident. He's awake, but something's wrong. When he tries to speak, his mouth open, yet no words come out. The language part of his brain, his Broca's area, is silent. Doctors call it aphasia, the loss of language after injury. Weeks pass. His wife, Elena, sits by his side every day, holding his hand, whispering words he can't yet say back. I love you. You'll come back to me. One day, a therapist wheels in a small keyboard. Daniel looks confused. The therapist smiles, presses a key and says gently, "Don't speak." Daniel, sing. She plays the first few notes of You Are My Sunshine. Daniel hums. Then, to everyone's astonishment, he sings the words clearly, not perfectly, not fluently, but recognizably. Elena bursts into tears. For the first time in months, she hears her husband's voice again, not through speech, but through song. That was the first glimpse of neuroplasticity through music, the brain finding a backdoor to communication when the front door was locked. The science behind the song. So what happened in Daniel's brain? To understand that, we need to peek behind the curtain of neuroplasticity. When one part of the brain is injured, other regions, sometimes on the opposite hemisphere, can take over lost functions. Music therapy taps into this principle beautifully. While speech is typically processed in the left hemisphere, music engages both sides. Melody, rhythm, emotion, and memory networks all work together. So when Daniel couldn't speak, the therapist used melody to awaken the right hemisphere, helping it form new neural bridges to the damaged language centers on the left. This is known as melodic intonation therapy, and it's been used in hospitals around the world to help stroke and trauma patients regain speech. Neuroplasticity, at its most poetic. When the words were gone, the music became the teacher. The language of the brain researchers have long known that the brain doesn't see music as just entertainment. It's more like a full-body workout for the ear. Mind music lights up motor areas when you tap your foot, auditory regions when you listen, emotional circuits when you feel something, and even memory centers like the hippocampus when a song takes you back in time. It's this whole brain activation that makes music such a powerful rewiring tool. In one study from Harvard, stroke patients who sang simple phrases daily showed measurable growth in white matter pathways, connecting their auditory and speech regions. In plain terms, singing literally built new highways in their brains. When rhythm heals movement, but language isn't the only thing music can restore. Enter Maria, a retired ballerina who developed Parkinson's disease in her 60s. Once graceful and light-footed, she began struggling to walk without freezing mid-step. Her neurologist suggested rhythmic auditory stimulation, a therapy that uses beats to synchronize movement. So every morning, Maria played a metronome and moved to its steady pulse. At first her steps were shaky, uncertain, but the rhythm acted like an external guide, allowing her brain to relink auditory and motor circuits. Within weeks, she could walk longer distances with fewer freezes. Her husband once joked, "It's like your brain listens better to music than to me." Maria laughed, because he was right. Music was literally retraining her brain's timing network, teaching it to move again. From broken brains to rewired lives, music has shown incredible promise across a spectrum of conditions, from dementia and autism to depression and traumatic injury. Why? Because it accesses something primal. Long before humans had language, we had rhythm. Our ancestors drummed around fires, their heartbeats syncing to the same pulse. That connection remains hardwired in us. When someone with dementia forgets the names of their children, a familiar song can bring those memories rushing back. It's not magic. It's memory networks reactivating through the music-emotion connection. The brain never really forgets the feeling tied to a song. The research that changed everything, in a groundbreaking 2011 study, neuroscientist Gottfried Schlaug from Harvard used MRI scans to observe stroke patients before and after weeks of music therapy. Before therapy, the injured hemisphere looked silent, broken pathways, reduced connectivity. After therapy, New fiber tracts had grown, like tiny neurological vines connecting regions that once stood isolated. And those patients weren't just singing. They were speaking again. This research changed rehabilitation forever. It proved that recovery wasn't just about medicine. It was about music as medicine. The brain's secret playlist. So what's actually happening when we listen or play? Dopamine release. Your brain's reward system lights up, creating motivation and pleasure. Oxytocin boost. Shared music experiences deepen social bonds. Cortisol reduction. Music lowers stress, making the brain more receptive to learning. Synchronization. Rhythms help align brain waves, improving focus and mood. In short, music is one of the most powerful neuroplasticity tools we have, accessible to everyone. A choir of healing in Sydney. There's a choir made up entirely of stroke survivors and people with brain injuries. They call themselves the Rewired Voices. At first, many couldn't form sentences, but through singing week after week, their fluency returned. More importantly, their confidence came back. When they perform publicly, it's not just about music. It's about reclaiming identity. Each note is a declaration. My brain is still learning. My voice still matters. I'm not broken. I'm rewiring. Why music works? So deeply think of your brain as a city. After an injury or emotional trauma, some roads are blocked. Communication between neighborhoods slows down. Music acts like a detour system. It finds alternate routes, building new roads, connecting old districts that haven't spoken in years. And just like in a city, the more you travel those new roads, the stronger they become. Repetition is the mother of rewiring. The soundtrack of Recovery Daniel, the teacher from the beginning, continued music therapy for 6 months. He started by singing, but soon his speech began to return naturally. The neural bridges built through melody became strong enough to carry everyday conversation. One day during a therapy session, he looked at Elena and said what without singing, "Thank you for not giving up." Tears streamed down her face. It was one of the most beautiful sentences she had ever heard. His words weren't just sounds. They were proof of neuroplasticity in action, proof that healing isn't always linear, but it's always possible. Your brain on music. So, what does this mean for you, the viewer, the listener, the thinker? You don't need to be a musician to benefit from music's rewiring power. Here's how you can start right now. Listen intentionally. When you hear a song, close your eyes. Notice the rhythm, the instruments, the emotion it brings. Each layer activates a different neural network. Sing or hum daily, even softly. Singing integrates breath, voice, emotion, and rhythm, a neuroplastic workout in disguise. Play an instrument. Learning new motor sequences challenges coordination, memory, and focus, strengthening connections across hemispheres. Pair music with emotion. Want to remember something better? Attach it to a song. Your brain will store it in surround sound, the symphony within. Here's the truth. Your brain isn't a static organ. It's a living orchestra, always tuning, always composing, always finding harmony after chaos. Even when a part of the melody goes missing, another instrument can learn to play its part. That's the miracle of neuroplasticity. It doesn't erase pain, but it rewrites the score. Every thought, every practice, every note you play sends a message. I am still learning. I am still healing. I am still alive. Final words for viewers: if this story touched you, if it reminded you that your brain can heal, that your mind is not your past but your potential, then let that hope echo. Let it inspire you to pick up an instrument, sing in the shower, or simply listen more deeply, because behind every melody is a message from your own neurons. You're still growing. If you love these kinds of stories, where science meets humanity, make sure to subscribe and join our community. Every week, we explore new ways to rewire your mind, heal your body, and unlock your fullest potential. Let's keep the music playing, and together,